Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric. Welcome to Read the Right Thing. Just got done reading a really cool book. It's basically Pirates of the Caribbean, but real life. Stephen Johnson is a best selling author of 12 books. He is also the host and co creator of Emmy Award winning PBS BBC series How We Got to Now. Now, this book, Enemy of All Mankind, it's a historical biography about one of the most notorious pirates of all time, a fellow by the name of Henry Every. The book focuses on one key event, the attack of an Indian treasure ship by Every and his crew of pirates. The attack is one of the most lucrative crimes in history. Every and those pirates netted around $20 million in today's money. The attack sparked the first global manhunt, on par with global manhunts that we've seen today with modern terrorists. The case can be made that Every was actually the first terrorist way back in 1695. Interestingly enough, the attack on the ship happened September 11th, 1695. The idea for this book is kind of funny. It started when Johnson was on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney World. Johnson said he was at Disney World years ago with his children, right after the events of 9/11. He was on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. He had a thought while he was on the ride, while hearing the pirate songs, that pirates essentially were just the terrorists of the 1700s. The pirates would show up out of nowhere, burn your village, and attack your women. But now the pirates are these endearing characters in a children's story and a ride at Disney World. It's kind of interesting. On the surface, the book is a tale of an average sailor staging a mutiny and becoming one of the most popular pirates of all time. However, the contents of the story encase much more than just the tale of a pirate. Johnson uses Every to explore the emergence of the East India Company, which was the first stock joint corporation in history. He explores the British Empire. He also explores the modern global marketplace. So even though the book is just about one key event, about an attack of an Indian ship and about this pirate Henry Every, you learn so much more about marketplaces in India and England and society. You learn about economics, politics, the way newspapers worked. Johnson explains how an unlikely pirate and the most lucrative crime in history played a role in the birth of multinational capitalism. Johnson also makes the case that Every played a role in the birth of the modern celebrity. Like his book, The Ghost Map, a story about the cholera epidemic in London in 1854, Enemy of All Mankind jumps across multiple disciplines. It jumps across piracy, the global economy in the 1600s, British culture, as well as Indian culture. It's really a fascinating read and must have taken years to research. The book even delves into the beginning of the formations of companies and public stocks. The East India Company was fascinating to learn about. It was this company that was used to trade goods between India and England. But the East India Company gradually became the way the English influenced India politically and economically. I first read about this book in the New York Times. A review in the New York Times says, Johnson uses Every's remarkable story as the organizing principle for kaleidoscopic rumination on the ways in which a single event and the actions of a handful of men with no obvious access to the levers of state power can change the course of history. Now, I read the New York Times almost every morning. I remember reading the reviews for this book, but then I kind of forgot to read it. I recommended the book to a friend just based off the review alone. And my friend brought it up the other day and even let me borrow his copy. And I'm actually really glad he reminded me to read this book. The book compares the global economy of the time and how society ticked to that of how the pirates rebelled and worked. India was mass exporting spices and textiles, becoming one of the wealthier, if not the wealthiest country at the time. The elite of India were just filthy rich. Kind of an interesting thing I learned about India at the time is that they weren't reinvesting the gold into the economy. They weren't taking the gold that they earned from these textiles and spices and putting it back into the economy. Instead, they were taking the gold and just fashioning beautiful jewelry and other things like statues, things that would adorn your house or your walls. So the value couldn't be used like money, but it was just a piece of art. So the few in India who were wealthy kept getting even wealthier, while normal people just sat on the sidelines. England also wasn't a place where you could acquire much wealth unless you were lucky enough to be born into a rich family. Contrasting England and India, the pirates were strangely more egalitarian than the British Empire and other private companies. There obviously was an inherent risk reward with becoming a pirate. You were a fugitive with no promise of earning anything. But if you did earn something, it was exponentially more than if you did things, the right way. In the legitimate companies, like the East India Company, the captain was making substantially more than the lower sailors. Now, it's similar how today the CEOs make way more than the factory workers. But on the pirate ships, the captain only made two more times as much as the low man on the totem pole. The pirates divided the wealth a lot more equally. I always assumed pirates had no rules or governing principles, and the captain probably made way more money, but it actually wasn't the case. In fact, it was the opposite. The pirates had contracts and stuck to them for the most part. That's not to say that they weren't pirates and they weren't doing horrible things. They were still pillaging and robbing and raping and burning down houses and mosques. It's just if you were one of them, if you were a pirate, you were treated more equally. Johnson describes Every's crew as a gang of xenophobic sexual predators. So although it would maybe be tempting to glorify the pirates, Johnson never glorifies these pirates. He describes them probably exactly how they were. The attack of the Indian treasure ship is really well written. Johnson takes accounts from both sides to piece together what happened. It took some real skill on Every's part to pull this off, and it also took some luck. When the survivors from the Indian ship finally returned to India, India held England and the managers of the East India Company responsible. There was now a fork in the road. Either England would condemn, catch, and prosecute these pirates, or they were basically turning a blind eye and condoning piracy. Johnson writes about the complexity of the manhunt and trials very simply. It's very easy to follow along and understand, even though you're crisscrossing continents and oceans and months and years. The story is about the beginnings of terrorism, celebrity, and the media exploiting the celebrities for their own gain. The crazy thing is this happened so long ago. How could anyone research this and know exactly what happened? And Johnson admits that a lot of what did or did not happen is simply conjecture. Scholars weren't even sure where Henry Every was born or if that was even his real name. No matter what happened or how it happened, the influence of Every and the attack is undeniable. From the songs to the stories to the change in the global economy and piracy, Henry Every had an indelible impact. This book also reminded me of another book I've already reviewed called The Last Pirate of New York. If you want to check that out, I'll put the link in the description. They are similar in that there is an act of violence, a manhunt, and then a trial. However, Henry Every had a lot larger effect on the world than Albert Hicks did from The Last Pirate of New York. Here's a part from the beginning of the book. On a clear day, the lookout, perched atop the 40-foot mainmast of a Mogul treasure ship, can see almost 10 miles before hitting the visual limits of the horizon line. But it is late summer in the tropical waters of the Indian Ocean. The humidity lingering in the air draws a hazy curtain across the spyglass lens. And so by the time the English vessel comes into focus, she is only 5 miles away. The existence of an English ship in these waters is hardly noteworthy. They are only a few days' sail from Surat, one of India's most prosperous port cities, and the original headquarters of the East India Company. At first sight, the lookout doesn't even think it's necessary to sound an alarm. Yet, as the seconds pass, as the blurred shape of the boat looms in the spyglass, something catches his attention in the approaching vessel. Not her colors, but her speed in the water. The ship is in full sail. He can see now, running before the wind, and she is moving fast, at least 10 knots, maybe more, easily twice the top speed of the treasure ship. The lookout has never seen a ship sail with such velocity across open water. By the time the lookout alerts the crew below him, the English ship is already visible to the naked eye. From his vantage point on the quarterdeck, the captain of the Indian ship still has little reason to fear the approaching vessel, however fast she might be. He has 80 cannons lining his gun decks, supported by 400 muskets and nearly 1,000 men. From what he can make out, the English ship cannot have more than 50 cannons and a fraction of his crew. Even if she is under the command of pirates on the attack, the captain has been at sea for months without incident. He has sailed unchallenged through the notorious pirates' nest at the mouth of the Red Sea. Now he is practically in sight of his home port in Surat. What pirate would dare challenge him in these waters with so little firepower? But the captain does not know the long history that has brought these two ships together. He does not know that the men aboard the English vessel have traveled thousands of miles to get this close to a ship returning to harbor with unimaginable riches in its hold, that they have waited more than a year for this precise opportunity. He does not know what these men are capable of, the crimes they have already committed. So this is a very interesting read, very good book. I'm glad I picked it up. If you're looking for an entertaining read that'll teach you about global marketplaces, media, pirates, stock exchanges. This book, it casts a wide net. I would definitely recommend this book. This was the right thing for me. So if you read this book, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. If you found this video helpful, please hit a like button or the subscribe. I post videos pretty frequently. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great day.